If you find you're losing hairs over this process of migrating your SketchUp model into Vectorworks, if that's how you prefer to do things, then lose hair no more, because I have a good process for you that I found works. We have the SketchUp model from Extension Warehouse by Lucas. I don't remember. I'll leave a link if you want to use the same model for your own experimentation. You can see that he's included textures. This model has been grouped properly with everything. So if I hide the components behind it, that's working. These are working as components as well. It means we can standardize some processes. If you're using special plugins in SketchUp that might generate their own internal origins, this will become a problem later in Vectorworks. You have two choices. You can make a duplicate of this model, select everything and explode it. So let's say I'd like to do that. I'll select everything. I right-click anywhere on the model and I press explode. That will explode everything and remove any of its special extension features. You might have to do that a few times if you have components within components, but I don't like to do it that way. What I would rather do is work with the original model and alter it in Vectorworks, because changes always happen throughout a design process and you don't want to have to come back in here and recreate the whole thing. What you save your SketchUp file as in a view is exactly what will be imported. As you're modeling through SketchUp, you're going to turn on and off tags, so on and so on. For this reason, it's very helpful to create a scene that you refer to on your way out of saving. So I'll add a scene, I'll update whatever this is, and I will call it something like Vectorworks export. That way, yep, it's set up. That way, let's say I'm working through the model and some things are hiding, and rather than having to go into my entity info and turn on and off, I just click on here, Bob's your uncle, save. Okay, so let's say that we're happy with this model and we want to bring it into Vectorworks. I won't save it, not that I've done anything. I'm going to open up Vectorworks and start with a new file here. Then I'm going to go to import SketchUp and locate the folder. This seems to be the correct place. This is the model. Yes. In this prompt, we're given a few options. I wouldn't bother with any of that. We just want meshes 3D polygons. That's essentially saying that SketchUp uses 3D planes, whereas Vectorworks relies on solid objects. Import materials is useful for later stage or only for small models because it will start to chug a lot of processing power from your computer. And I got something wrong in a previous video where I was saying group of 3D polygons is the better option. I've experimented a little bit and I found that Vectorworks mesh objects for some reason has less conflicts, but it will take a little bit longer to import. But that doesn't matter. I would rather have a quality import and wait a few extra minutes. Good, and it's brought in textures. It's looking good. Let's assume it's not looking good. Let's assume for some reason something's come in strangely because of a plugin or extension conflict. All I need to do, firstly, is select everything. For me, that's Command A, and then I'm going to ungroup once or twice. It depends how thorough you are with your grouping. What we're going to do next is Command K. This gives us the option Command to group options. Now, we want to do this because it's going to remove some of those internal origin points, which I was talking about. But sometimes that's not enough. You see that this has come out funny. That's because it wasn't necessary. But bear with me. Let's just pretend that we had a lot of extra groups and whatever. I'm just telling you that's something to test with if things start coming out funny when you reference your file into your main Vectorworks project. Okay, the next thing, which is very important, is sometimes you get plane clashes. We don't have it in this model because it's been modeled with probably very basic tools, or it was exploded to remove that sort of information. Let's say an object is just getting this strange mesh that you can't explain and it's not modeled anywhere, but it's giving you grief. What you likely need to do is turn it into an auto hybrid. I can't explain to you the what's and whys, I just know it works. So I'm going to click that. It says, do you want to change the top plan view? Don't know why it asks that, but sure thing, buddy, let's go. Now this is going to turn it into some sort of 2D representation. And you can see that it's kept the textures and it's looking quite decent. Then cut plane elevation, this is the cut plane relative to 0. Honestly, I'll just make it 100 meters or something. It's just asking how you want to view it in plan. It doesn't even matter for this exercise. But that will typically remove somewhat strange looking planes if they ever appear. They'll have that sort of wire mesh, thick wire mesh texture about them. If you ever spot it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you never see it, then you're modeling well. Congratulations. What's happened here might actually be useful for your documentation stage anyway. This brings on another trick. If you don't want to have to hand draw things that you're importing from SketchUp into Vectorworks, you can literally use this, but you see it just took a good 20 seconds to generate this in plan. And now I have to capture its sort of cut plane information. I think, well, I don't even have to think, I can just judge it. I'm going to use this 3D Locus Tool and place it somewhere in the middle. And we see that we have a Z to 0 reference of 1.7 meters. So what I can do, I'll go back in plan view and I will set it to 1.7 meters. And I'm curious to see if that cuts a nice plane for us. Will that mean I don't have to draw so much later? Look at that, I mean, it's done a pretty good job. And the powerful thing about Vectorworks' appearances is you can actually add in dashed lines above what's cut, which is a little known fun thing to do. So if I'm not going to do it now, okay, fine. Encore, I get it. You really want to see. So what I would do is create a new class. I'll call it dashed above / over. You get the gist. And then I'm going to give it some sort of forced style. I'm going to give it a line type 1. That's all I have here. I haven't set this up in any way, which is fine for now. Line type 1. And then I'm going to assign that dashed style to this above cut plane. So I'll say range. For this, I know it's only not too high. If you give it infinite, then Vectorworks is going to scan an infinite level of heights for every object you turn into a auto hybrid. We will give it the class attributes of the dashed over. And then smoothing angle is usually a good idea. This will get rid of funny lines if you have very dense information in a SketchUp model. Then I'll press OK. Now it's going to regenerate this model, and hopefully we will see the dashed lines above that object from this cut plane reference that we've given it. Amazing! Look at that. It did it. So you can get Vectorworks to do this sort of stuff quite nicely for you. And you can see how quick it is. I didn't have to go and draw over that and add the detail. If that's a way you would like to get into drawing and then referencing back in, you could potentially do that. It's kind of an interesting way to go about it. I prefer not to get into too much detail, especially when you're drawing 1 to 100 or even 1 to 200 floor plans at development stage. And by the time you get to construction documentation, you're probably going to draw things very differently to how you modeled them in SketchUp as you get more granular. And that's a long time down the line. Let's say a very small part of your SketchUp model has changed, and now you need to reflect that in your Vectorworks model. And this will definitely happen many times. You don't always have to re-import everything. You can just re-import that one small change. And I'll show you how to do that. It's a similar process. I'm going to open up that SketchUp model. Let's say this component here is what is changing. So I'll just change it ever so slightly so we can pick up on some sort of minor difference. Let's say this window design is doing something interesting, unusual. Okay. And that's our change. What I'll do, I would have grouped this so that all the windows and doors are in their own class or whatnot. But I'll group those and I'll make a copy. Then I'll make a new SketchUp drawing. I'll delete the dude, I think his name's Tom, and I will copy and place, paste in place. And that's going in the exact same spot that I need it to go. Then save this in a temporary location. It doesn't really matter what you name it because we'll get rid of it pretty soon anyway, and save it. We don't need this open anymore. Then you save the changes you've made here. Next, we go into our Vectorworks model, and I've identified it's these windows that we would like to go. Now, I'm curious to see if I use my magic wand tool, can I select everything by size or... Yep, perfect, it works. So Vectorworks is able to identify that sort of information as well. I'll delete those, and then I'll go File, Import SketchUp, just like before. I will identify that window fix model and bring it in with the same settings I used before. Should take 10 seconds. There you go, see how easy that was. Notice that it's brought it in to its own layer, which is totally fine, by the way. In fact, I would prefer that. And when you watch my other tutorial on the best process for bringing a reference SketchUp model into Vectorworks, that goes into how to go about naming and linking things. Window fix is totally fine right now. And when I turn on show/snap others, you can see it's brought in those changes very nicely. Then I'll save the model update. So for me, I have two different folders, gone into that in previous videos. I'll give it today's date, and then relink that in my master file for Vectorworks documentation. Let me know if you learned anything or have any questions about this particular setup process, and don't forget that you must subscribe.